Hi, and welcome to December De-Stress. I am so excited that you've joined this program because you are going to learn how to harness this powerful natural resource that you have available 24/7, and that is your breath. So in this program, I'm going to be showing you how to bring balance back to your nervous system. Because when you have a well-regulated nervous system, everything works well from that point on. The body is incredible. The breath is part of the autonomic nervous system, and it's the only part of the autonomic system that we can override is our breath. When we do override our breath, and what does that mean? When we become conscious of our breath, and then we on purpose change it in a certain way, we then start to affect our nervous system. We can affect how we feel, how we operate, how we think. It really is very powerful, and we have access to that. So in a perfect world, when we don't have stresses and we're healthy, we have a well-regulated nervous system. And there's so much intelligence in our body. As we inhale, it activates the sympathetic response, which is the fight, flight, freeze. And as we exhale, we activate the rest and digest response. So just imagine with every inhale and exhale, you have the opportunity to balance your nervous system. This fight, flight, freeze is there, certainly when we're in danger, but it's also an important part of our everyday life to bring energy and creativity into our life, to be able to reset. And then the rest and digest is all about recouping, rejuvenating, digesting, and really recharging. So we want to have this balance. So because of our stressful lifestyles, and because we have to be switched on all the time and we're doing things all the time, the sympathetic response is overly activated. So instead of having that balance, the switching on and the switching off, the sympathetic response never properly switches off. You're always on. It's always activated. So your system is highly adrenalized, and that's why it's so easy to feel this burnout. So how would you feel? You'd feel exhausted all the time. Perhaps you'd feel unmotivated. You may even experience brain fog. You may be feeling depressed. Maybe you simply cannot relax because you've gone beyond that stage. So all of these things could be coming up for you at this time of the year, which is why once you bring the balance back, you really are able to recharge your batteries physically, mentally, emotionally, and you are ready for the new year. So the focus of this lesson is to show you how to breathe properly. We're going to be doing a few breathwork exercises over the program, but we've got to start with a good foundation. Now, over time, again, because of our stressful habits and stressful lifestyles, we've developed bad habits, incorrect ways of breathing, and that means we have suboptimal breathing patterns. And so today the focus is on diaphragmatic breathing. A lot of us breathe very high up in our shoulders, the thoracic breathing, and we use all of these auxiliary muscles. The idea when it comes to optimal breathing is to breathe from the diaphragm and from the ribs. So just for a moment, to get an idea of how you breathe, what is your breathing pattern at the moment? I invite you to place one hand on your chest and place your other hand on your diaphragm. And where's your diaphragm? It's positioned between your belly button and your ribs. So just in that space in between, place your hand there, and without changing anything, just observe and notice how you are breathing. So again, not changing anything, noticing. Do you find when you inhale that your chest moves first? Or do you find that your belly moves first? Are you finding that you're holding your breath? Or are you breathing shallow breaths high up in the chest? Just notice so you have an idea of what your breathing pattern is. Okay, so for some of you, you could be breathing from this place, as I said, the thoracic breathing, and that means you're breathing suboptimally. And some of you may be breathing from the diaphragm, and that's really very good. Perhaps you've had training in that. But either way, I'm going to be showing you how to breathe from the diaphragm, from the intercostal muscles, so that moving forward, you learn how to breathe optimally. The lungs do not have muscles. The lungs really are just like sponges. So they expand with air and then they release the air. They expand and then they release. So they are reliant on the respiratory muscles surrounding them to create an enlarged cavity, which creates a vacuum, which then allows the air to fill the lungs. And those muscles are the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles. The diaphragm is a sheet of muscle that stretches from one side of the body to the other. It is found underneath the lungs. And when the diaphragm is relaxed, it's in a dome shape. So it's pushing up into the lungs. When you breathe in, the diaphragm flattens and it pushes down against the stomach. And because it's pushing down, the belly automatically expands. So it almost feels like you're blowing this balloon up in your stomach. And then as you breathe out, the diaphragm moves back to its normal position, which is dome shaped, and so that it pushes all of the air out of the lungs, and then your belly feels like it is flattening. So let's go back to placing the hand on the diaphragm. Okay, and although you're breathing through your nose, so this is the portal of the air entering and exiting for this particular exercise. What I invite you to do is imagine your nostrils are sitting here on this diaphragm. So as you inhale, you're breathing from this place. Okay? So let's give it a try. So before we get started, let's just be aware of what our shoulders are doing. So maybe you just want to lift your shoulders to your ears and gently roll them back, soften them, soften them, soften them, soften them. Beautiful. Imagine you've got a string going up your spine, out of the top of your head. Someone's pulling that string, so you've got a beautiful posture, relaxing your jaw, softening your throat, and placing your hand on your diaphragm and just breathing into the count of 4. And breathing out to the count of 4, 2, 3, 4. And as you breathe in, and you're breathing from your diaphragm, can you feel your belly expanding on the inhale and then flattening on the exhale? So do it in your time. So you're breathing in, you're relaxing your shoulders, your focus and awareness is on the diaphragm, breathing from there. And then as you exhale, it flattens. So what's happening here is, remember, as you breathe in, your diaphragm is flattening. It's pushing down into the stomach, which is why your belly is expanding. As you breathe out, your diaphragm's pushing back up into the lungs, releasing the air and then flattening the stomach. That is what the diaphragm feels like on the inhale and the exhale. Excellent. And the other muscles that are involved in breathing are the intercostal muscles. And these are the muscles found in between the ribs. So as you inhale, the muscles contract. So the ribs all of a sudden pull sideways, upwards and backwards, creating this 360 sphere. So it's pulling, 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 and it's creating all the space in this thoracic cavity. It's creating this vacuum, and then the lungs fill with air. And then on the exhale, the muscles relax, and then the ribs return to their original position. So you can imagine the ribs and the diaphragm like that. As you inhale, diaphragm flattens, ribs move upwards, outwards, backwards, lungs expand with air. And then as you exhale, the diaphragm pushes up, the ribs move back to their original position. Now get a sense of how your ribs feel. So placing your hands on your ribs, so your 4 fingers on the front of your ribs, your thumb on the back of the ribs, okay? And just be careful when you do this that you're not lifting your shoulders, that you're not putting all the tension in the neck, in the shoulders and the chest area. And every time you feel like you're going to do it, just lift your shoulders gently, roll them back, soften. That's it, no tension there. And now, just like we did with the diaphragmatic breathing, in your own time, breathe in through your nose and out, and in, and out. And you should be feeling your ribs moving upwards and outwards. Now, for some of you, it may be very obvious. For others, it may not be. It may just be a small movement. And that really is because you're not used to working these muscles. But it's fine. They're muscles. You'll train them. And in time, you will be able to use that so that you can create this amazing space. And then you can improve your lung capacity and then really improve your overall health. So you've got to feel the ribs moving upwards, outwards, and backwards as well. Right, so for our first exercise, we're going to be separating the belly, side, lower ribs, and upper ribs, because the imagery is that the lungs, when you fill the lungs with air, it's like filling a jug of water. We fill from the bottom up. And the lungs, we want to fill from the bottom up so that we can really expand and use the lung capacity, increase the lung capacity. So the exercise is breathing in through the nose, and the focus is on the belly, so the diaphragm. So you're going to inhale 1, 2, and you're going to feel your belly expanding. 1, 2, you're inhaling, and then you pause. You don't exhale, you're pausing. It's just a pause. And then the next, for the count of 2, is from the lower ribs. 1, 2, and then you pause. Again, you don't exhale, you're pausing. So now your diaphragm's hovering, your ribs, the muscles, the intercostal muscles are holding. And then the last 2, you're bringing your awareness to your upper ribs, expanding and opening, and your back ribs expanding and opening for another 2. And then you're going to release with a lovely So it's going to look like this. You're going to place one hand on the belly so you can feel them moving, the other hand on the ribs, and watch me. And the movement between the lower ribs and the upper ribs, it's very, very subtle. It's very subtle. It's more a case of really expanding those ribs, really being aware of pulling them upwards and outwards. Are you ready? Fantastic. So, one hand on the rib cage, the other hand on the diaphragm, rolling the shoulders back so you can soften your shoulders. And you're going to inhale and exhale, so we release the air from the lungs before we start. And let's begin a count of 2. And inhale through the nose from the belly. 1, 2, pause, 2. Lower ribs. 1, 2, pause, 2. Upper ribs, so expanding more. 1, 2, pause, 2, and how does that feel? Maybe a little bit challenging, but it's an excellent exercise in really working those muscles. Let's do it again. Inhaling from that diaphragm. Feel the diaphragm expanding. Let's go. Inhale. 1, 2, pause, 2. Ribs. 1, 2, pause, 2. Open up more. 1, 2, pause, 2. And again, the diaphragm. 1, 2, pause, 2. Ribs. 1, 2. Hold it out there. Pause, 2. Pull more out, but relaxing the shoulders. 2. Hold, 2. And again, in through the nose. 1, 2. Pause, 2. Lower ribs. 2. Pause, 2. Upper ribs, 2. Pause, 2. Expand and beautiful. And again from the belly. 1, 2. pause, 2, ribs, 1, 2, pause, 2, upper ribs, 1, 2, pause, 2. Let's do one more from the belly. 1, 2, pause, 2, lower ribs, 1, 2, pause, 2, upper ribs, 1, 2, pause, 2, and fantastic. So good. I do want to say, if you are struggling with feeling your diaphragm expanding, this belly, not your diaphragm expanding, your belly expanding, then I invite you to lie on your bed and then place your hand on your diaphragm. And then you'll notice when you lie down, you'll see how your belly lifts and then it lowers, and then it lifts and then it lowers. So if it's easier for you to do the exercise lying down at first, do it, and then move to sitting up, because you really want to be able to access those muscles when you are sitting up. I'm going to repeat. It may be difficult in the beginning because you're using muscles that you haven't used the way you should be using them. So keep going. This is the first step of creating really a whole new, healthy, amazing life for yourself, because you're accessing your breath in the correct way. So we're going to be doing another exercise where we, without having the pause, we're going to be going belly, lower ribs, upper ribs, and then out. And it's all going to be for a count of 4. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4, through the nose, and we're going to be exhaling through pursed lips for 4 on the exhale. And the imagery that I'd like to bring to mind while you're practicing this exercise is to imagine that this breathing mechanism is like a tree. And so as you inhale, your diaphragm is like the roots of that tree, and the roots are dropping into the soil. So your diaphragm is dropping, the roots are dropping into the soil. And as the roots drop, you feel the branches opening upwards towards the sky, opening up and out. Your branches expanding, stretching. And then on the exhale, the focus is on the leaves fluttering and relaxing. And you're going to find that this is a relaxing exercise because the exhale is through pursed lips, and it's a slow exhale. And that switches on the parasympathetic response, and it's wonderfully relaxing. So we're focusing on diaphragmatic intercostal breathing and also beautiful, gentle relaxing on the exhale. Are you ready? Fantastic. Posture first. Right. So lifting the shoulders gently to the ears, softly placing them back, feeling that string being pulled out the top of your head, relaxing your jaw, placing your one hand on your belly, your other hand on the rib cage, breathing in and out. So you're releasing the air, and let's breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and shh. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so remember, the diaphragm is the roots, then the branches going up and flutter, 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 flutter. Inhale, feel the diaphragm, the roots pushing down, the branches moving upwards and outwards. Open, 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 and softening and letting go. Again, the diaphragm dropping, and then the branches opening upwards and outwards, stretching, 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 and the exhale. And again, in, 2, 3, 4. Beautiful. In, 2, 3, 4. Again, softening the shoulders as you're doing it. 3, 4. the roots, the branches, up, open, leaves, fluttering, leaves, fluttering, the roots, and now the branches opening upwards and outwards, the leaves fluttering, 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 fluttering. Keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4. Relax your chest and shoulders. 3, 4. Feel your belly expanding. Ribs. 3, 4. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and and 1, 2, 3, 4, and out. 2, 3, 4. Enjoy the sensation. 2, 3, 4, and out. 2, 3, 4. One more time. In. 2, 3, 4, and out. 2, 3, 4. Well done. Now just pause. Drop your awareness down into your body and feel how you feel. So well done. You've taken the first step. And it may have been challenging, it may not have been challenging, but you certainly now know that diaphragmatic intercostal breathing is the way forward. And you've become a conscious breather. And so I invite you throughout the day just to pause for a moment and think, how am I breathing? Just notice, how am I breathing at the moment? Wow, let me relax my shoulders. Gee whiz, I'm holding my breath. I'm breathing very high up in my chest. Let me bring my attention down to my diaphragm and to my intercostal muscles, to the ribs, and opening up so that my lungs can fill with air. This is the first step. It's just being aware that you're breathing and noticing how you're breathing, and then making 1 or 2 changes. In a couple of days' time, I'm going to be releasing the next video, and that is all about coherent or balanced breathing. This is the most powerful exercise when it comes to balancing your nervous system. Well done. Thank you for showing up. It has been a pleasure, and I look forward to being with you in the next video.